Good evening and welcome to Next Course Unlocked. I am your host, as always, Jigsy. I was your host 2 weeks ago and 2 weeks before that. And if history is anything to go by, I'll probably be your host in 2 weeks again. Tonight, because I did not plan at all, I am making burgers. I don't have a guest host because, like I said, I didn't plan a guest host. So I thought, why not give myself a little bit of a penance and make something from scratch and just show how easy it is. I figured burgers because who doesn't love a burger? And really, they are actually super easy to make. So I'm gonna start with just some mise en place kind of stuff to get everything ready. Really what I need is the mince that I've already got. Premium grade mince is really good. I'm using about half a kilo here because I'm only really making 3 or 4 burgers. You want some breadcrumbs. I'm using some wholemeal bread that I've got in the cupboard. I'll blitz that up in a second. Breadcrumbs are super easy to make. I've got a couple of eggs to help bind everything together. And I've got some chorizo that I'm actually going to put in just to give it a little bit of a kick, make it a bit of a Mexican style flavor. Some garlic, and of course, I did mention on Twitter that we were making them from scratch, sort of. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going to throw some fajita seasoning in just to lift the flavors a little bit more. So let's get started. Breadcrumbs are stupidly easy. I'm not going to use the crusts because we don't need them. I'm also not going to cut myself like I almost did. At the moment, the injury count is 2, so I will have a tally going up from the next episode. So just cut the crust off your bread and cut your bread into 3 and then cut it roughly in half. We don't need that many breadcrumbs because really we're making burgers. We're not making, like a pasta bake or something that goes on top. Chuck those into your food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can use a blender. If you don't have a blender, how do you make margaritas? And this is where it gets a little bit loud, so I'm just going to pulse it on low. Just until they mix through. And then, just to cheat a little bit, I'm going to throw my garlic in there. That way you'll have nice garlicky breadcrumbs and it'll help mix everything through while you're making your burger patties. Easiest way to peel garlic is to just twist it between your thumb and your forefingers, and the skin will just lift off. It's a little more boring without a co-host.
Do you need me to talk to you?
You can talk if you want. You can relay any questions or anything, or...
Well, Patty Maz says woo burgers.
Patty, I miss you. Also, if you do cut the crust off, eat them. They're good.
Will they make your hair curly?
They will not make your hair curly. It's an urban legend. So I'm just going to drop the garlic cloves in and give them a little bit more of a blitz around. And then we're done. And it's as easy as that, and you've got breadcrumbs.
Rowan Paredes says I effing love garlic.
Hi, Rowan. Garlic is one of my 3 favorite herbs. I guess you'd call it a herb. A spice. I'm not sure whether garlic is a herb or a spice, so if anyone in the chat knows, let me know and I'll learn something tonight.
And Yug wants to know if he can come over.
Yug, you can crash my stream anytime. Literally anytime. Come over. Although, that means someone misses out on a burger, so either the Padawan or Ray is going to have to fight to the death for it. I'm seriously just going to be picking at these the whole stream, I think. Next, I'm going to tackle my chorizo. I really want to wait and get the meat in almost last.
Apparently garlic's a vegetable, you casual.
Oh, well, it makes sense, but you use it as a seasoning for other things, so is it really?
I'd say it's a
The
spice.
old Ramsay Bolton wiggle. So, seeing as how it's a sausage, I'm just going to slice this in half and kind of open it up a little bit. And then I really just want to get your fingers in there and just pull as much as you can that chorizo meat out. What we want from the chorizo meat, and the reason I picked chorizo is it's got a beautiful flavor and a lovely little bit of fat in it as well.
How long is this meant to take?
This will probably take about kind of, what, as in just the chorizo bit or the whole thing in general?
The chorizo bit.
What, like as if the internet doesn't want to see me playing with my sausage on a stream?
You do know your target audience.
I do. I mean, that Ramsay Bolton shake will probably either already be a GIF or very soon be a GIF. But yeah, make sure you kind of break up the chorizo. You don't want it to be little kind of massive chunks. I'm also not too fussed if I use all of it because they were cheap. Are you gonna pop in and say hi at all, Yug, or are you just gonna, no, you just creep in the background?
If you follow Yug on Snapchat, you'll see what he's creepy doing right now.
That is Yug Star on Snapchat, one word. While I've got slimy sausage all over my hands.
Yeah, go and make sausage puns. Do a Nigella.
Oh, Nigella. For those that didn't hear, Ray just told me to make sausage puns and do a Nigella, and if only she knew how much I would do a Nigella. I'm going to be in trouble for that one later.
You are not.
I'm not. Okay, strip as much of the meat out as you can. Really, I mean, one good sized sausage is all you really need in your hands for this. Yeah, if you are unfortunate and can only get a small sausage, then maybe grab a friend's sausage as well.
Should I jump in there?
Oh no, I got two average sized sausages that I'm quite happy with the size of these. I don't think there'll be many complaints. Oh, there's a lovely little kind of slurpy sound.
How big is an average sausage?
According to Cosmopolitan, an average sized sausage would be, I don't know, about 7.5 inches, I guess. It depends on your butcher and whether he's making kosher sausage. Yeah, it's a bit of a cerebral one for you. All right, so I've got as much of that meat as I'm caring to handle out of the sausage casing. The reason we want it out of the sausage casing is that sausage casing is going to be quite, it's going to crisp up and it's going to burn, so we don't want that in there. Next thing I want to do is actually throw some chili in there to give it a little bit of flavor. Again, when I was doing my roast lamb stream 2 weeks ago, you may recall that I said if you don't like the heat, to take out the seeds. The seeds are where most of the heat is, as well as the membrane. So the membrane's that kind of whitey bit on the middle as well. So if you can strip as much of that off as you can, that'll actually keep a lot of that heat out. And you can just do that with the tip of your knife and just brush it against. If it's a nice fresh chili, it should come off very, very quickly. And then, so you just cut little ribbons, a couple of millimeter across. This is actually called a julienne cut. It's a very French name because it's from French cooking. And it literally means little ribbons. So you'll often see like julienne carrots and cucumber and those kind of things for salads and everything. Then once you have your julienne, if you bring it to the side and then cut it across and keep them roughly square sized, that's called a brunoise cut. So little dicing like this is great when you want to put flavor through something. It's good for when you're making sauces, or like pastas as well for a bit of garnish. So I'm only going to use half a chili. Again, I mentioned 2 weeks ago on the last stream that the smaller and fatter your chili is, these aren't sausage puns anymore, then the more heat it will contain. So I wanted to use a nice kind of long, thin chili just to keep that heat out. Really what I want is that flavor from the chili, not the heat. All right, next up I'm going to throw the actual mince in. Make sure you take the paper off. No one wants to eat that. And just drop the mince in and give it a bit of a press in. Really, that's where you want to start to kind of combine everything. And just mix it through. We're not quite up to the patty stage yet. Patty with 2 T's, not D's. And this is where I want to throw some of that seasoning in. So, sorry, I just found a little bit of sausage skin that I want to get rid of. And just a little bit of cleanup as you go. So this is where I'm going to throw the fajita seasoning in. Again, I'm probably not going to use all of it because it is meant for, fajitas to feed 6 people. And the reason I'm cutting it is because I've got greasy hands from the chorizo. I'm just going to sprinkle maybe a third of it just over the top. It's always worthwhile having a couple of these spice mixes in the cupboard, whether it's a taco, fajita, or a seasoning and everything. It's just different blends of spices. Just so you can use it whenever you want. And you can use it to brighten something up like this. So again, just mix that through, make sure that fajita seasoning comes through. There is a lot of me handling my meat in this episode. I am aware of that.
Yeah, there is.
We will try and rectify that with the next episode. Also, because I didn't have a guest, I don't have any fancy beer, so I've just got Coronas. But perhaps next week, I can get someone to come in and bring something, a little nicer. Possibly even Yug. Although I don't know whether Yug knows that, one of the rules is that you've got to bring around a fancy beer and not like wine or something. So I'm just going to crack 2 eggs just into a bowl. Try not to get as much shell in it as I did. If you do, it's a pain in the ass to get out.
Use the other shell. Use part of the broken shell.
But that's the trick, is you use part of the other shell, which I can't because I've just thrown out. So when I crack the next egg, I'm going to do it like that. You don't have to worry too much about keeping the yolk intact here, because really all you want is to blend those eggs through, and they're all going to get mixed up anyway. So let's see if this old wives' tale works. I'm not calling my fiance old. Reasonably, does the job. And then just with, you can either use the knife or a fork, just give that a little bit of a whisk through.
Someone said hello, Gabby.
Yes, Gabby Borlands is in the house. I'm going to use a fork because using a knife to whisk is a bit shit. I could use a whisk to whisk, but I don't really want to create too much washing up.
Prometheus says that Yug will bring tequila and it will be a glorious disaster.
That's kind of why, like, knives and tequila only really go well if you are in a Mexican drug cartel.
You don't know that, Jigsy.
I have very,
No,
very
you
strong
don't
suspicions.
know that.
So now that I've got the eggs kind of mixed through, I'm just going to bring them in there. Really, all the eggs are is to, hold everything together. And now I get really messy. This is probably the bit that I like the least when playing with my meat. But it acts as an emulsifier and just binds everything together, especially with the breadcrumbs in there as well that help thicken it out. Already there's a nice kind of, you can smell the chorizo, you can smell the fajita seasoning. One of the things that you want to check for is really, it's kind of like when you're making a dough, it's the consistency. So you really don't want it to be too wet. So I probably will, after I've kneaded it a little bit more, I'm actually going to throw some breadcrumbs in, which means I need to make some more breadcrumbs. Which again is, you know, when you don't use a recipe for something, you often find that you have to kind of compensate at the last minute, and you know, talking about compensating in meat, of course. Sometimes you might need just a little bit extra. So again, same as before, I'll grab a couple of slices of bread. I'll probably only need one for this, but I'll use two anyway, because I can always thin it out, and that's easier. You can just do that with a little bit of milk. You know, cut the crust off. Give me something to eat again. Just gonna.
Marisol says, "Come on, man, you've got to be yoking. Get your hands in there and really need your meat."
That's the best thing about Twitch is the quality of the puns I find.
I am sideways says, "I was told there'd be meat. Just tuned in."
There is meat. There is lots and lots and lots of meat in this bowl at the moment. I was pretty sure I told everyone that I was cooking burgers, so.
Could be tofu burgers.
They're not tofu burgers.
Marisol says, "Hey man, my puns are quality."
Quality. Careful, they'll throw you in the penitentiary for that, and that's not just a New Zealand prison.
And Patty Maz just decided to follow you.
Oh, just now. Cool. Thanks. Thanks, Patty. But also, seriously, thank you for following. So I'm going to throw that garlic in there a little bit more because I'm throwing some more breadcrumbs in there. So I really want that flavor to come through. Again, make sure you put the blade on the food processor, otherwise it won't process. Bang the lid back on.
I have Subway said, those crusts will make your head go, Jigsy.
Oh wait,
I would have to have enough hair for that to happen, and I don't. So no injuries yet tonight. I have accidentally broken a little bit of the food processor though.
no.
Yep. But it's okay. Everything still works. And there is nothing more exciting than tuning in to watch someone live stream making breadcrumbs. All those people that like sports, it's kind of like a grand final.
Hyperstrike
Little bit of
wants
crust.
to know if you left EA to cook full time.
No. Although it's probably something worth kind of addressing. I didn't leave EA on bad terms. I absolutely love the company, and I would go back in a heartbeat if the job was right. And it was moving much, much more towards a focus on a couple of areas that, you know, I don't really know enough about, and didn't feel like it was where I wanted to be. I kind of love the Australian and New Zealand community way too much to move too far away from them. So I figured it was time to move on. Haven't cooked full time. I would love to cook full time, but it doesn't pay too well when you don't have your name above the door. And I still have rent and bills to pay. All right, so this is much, much dry now. I'm just gonna throw the last of those in. I can hear chuckling.
So I am Cyberwaste is saying, you know what's cool? Watching stuff break. And Farisalt said, you're at the right channel now. I am Cyberwaste.
Yes, so what, I cut myself and burnt myself on the last stream. I've broken something tonight already, just a little bit. It's just one of the clips that holds the food processor on, and you know, one of those really, really impossible to fix bits that snapped off and went flying across the room. All right, I should have thought about what to put these on.
Do you need a plate?
I can get a plate. That's a nice, obvious answer that I should have thought of myself. So, plate. What I will do is, and this is just a sneaky little trick, just to make it a little bit easier for cleanup, and also when you're getting your burgers onto the actual grill pan. I'm gonna put a little bit of cling wrap over the top first. Then I'm gonna grab a handful. That's the metric handful, not the imperial handful.
I am Cyberwaste says you're both awesome. Thank you. Name's Justin, huge and hungry fan.
I know who you are, Justin. You didn't have to tell me, but thank you for tuning in. Glad you're a fan. So,
Rowan says that you should make one giant burger instead of separating it, please.
I would love to make one giant burger, but I've got 3 rolls and some lettuce and some cheese and tomato, a little bit of avocado, and 3 people to feed. And if it was just one giant burger, I'd eat it myself. Was that a sniff because I haven't catered for 4, Yug?
No, that was actually just a
Oh,
sniff.
good. All right, yeah.
But I mean, you know, maybe you should have. Maybe you should just anticipate guests and friends coming over on a whim.
You should.
Yeah, you should.
Well, it's more me coming around to your place than you coming around here. Now that Thrones is finished.
I am here now. I am here, and you have no food for me. So
This is
I'm
true.
going to leave soon. That's a matter of fact.
All right, so I'm gonna get these burger patties. I'm just gonna kind of, once you've rolled them out, put them on the plate and then squish them down. Just a little bit. You don't want to press them too much.
There's now a call for you to make the Guinness World Record for largest burger. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I've been watching the Food Network a lot because daytime TV is shit, and that's the only good channel on free to air. And they have a show that has a dude that goes around and checks out a whole bunch of food and everything. And there's already people making way bigger burgers than I could make. And they seem to be a bit shit, so it's not really something I want to do.
Bye.
Bye, Yug. Thank
Bye,
you for...
Dixie.
Why do you have to go? Have you...
I got a friend coming around.
Ooh.
If you had enough food,
Oh.
then we'd stay. But you don't. So
We, plural.
yeah, I got a mate coming around.
Who's your mate?
It's a friend.
Just a friend? Ooh.
Well, we'll be over at my place just watching your stream.
Oh, okay, that's not creepy. All right, I'll tell you what. Since you guys want to see big burgers, let's make some bigger patties. Because I've got probably a bit too much for 3 burgers, so let's make 3 nice big ones. The problem is that when you make big patties like that, you need to try and get them as evenly sized as possible because you want them to cook evenly. The New South Wales Food Standards, Food Safety Board wants you to cook them to 71 degrees Celsius, which would roughly be about a medium well to well done. That's a bit shit, but I'm probably going to cook them to about 55. I want them medium. I want that little bit of pinkness through them, and that juiciness that you get when you cook a burger to its proper temperature. So again, once they're on the plate, give them a bit of a pat down.
There's a call for Gabby to eat the world's hottest chili on this stream.
Well, that's not what this stream's about. So Gabby won't be, or Yug, as those who know him refer to him. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Not on my watch. All right, so I've got 3 nice big patties. Again, that's patties with T's, not D's patty.
Farasol wants to know how you can claim to be making an Australian burger when it's not got beetroot.
I never said it was an Australian burger. You said it was an Australian burger. By you, I mean you in the comments, not you as in my producers. Is it really an Australian burger if it's got bits of chorizo and fajita seasoning in it though? Or do you just want it to be an Australian burger? Personally, I'm not a fan of beetroot. Beetroot tastes like dirt.
Prometheus says beetroot is evil.
I agree with you, Prometheus. He says as he shoves his face in a bag. Oh, beer. There is one thing that you should do with burgers. If you've got a soup spoon works really well. Otherwise, just a normal spoon. Just press them down in the center and make like a little bit of a well. And what you want is that'll stop them from getting that big kind of, meatball shape when you're actually cooking them. And once that fills in and flattens out, you know that the burgers are basically cooked.
Patty says, all I want is for Jigsy to pamper my burger buns.
Patty, I look forward to the next time I can take your delicious burger buns in my hands, spread them, and I cannot finish that without laughing, so I'm not going to. Right, now, I've realized that while we're just making the burgers, I don't really have anything to go with them. Or do I? I've thought ahead, and I've got the oven preheated to 200 degrees with the pan in there. And because I'm an adult, I'm having potato gems for dinner. Can we get some love in the chat for potato gems?
No.
No? No love for potato gems? I mean, generally it'll take a little while, but... Tater tots, yes. As Napoleon Dynamite famously stashed in his pants.
I am Cyberwaste says they're not potato smileys.
No, they're not. They're potato gems.
I was expecting smileys.
Potato smileys are like powdered potato on the inside, which is kind of like letting Trump be president.
Mr. Pezza says hashtag potato hype. Patty Maz says potato gem hype. Rowan Paredes says what the fuck is a potato gem? What kind of country is this?
Rowan, where are you from? I will wait for a response, of course.
Patty says he knew you were friends. They're his fave.
Yeah, I'm always right.
And I'm Cyberwaste has called them old god spuds.
Oh God, spuds. That
Wow,
works.
dude. Rowan is from Canada, which makes
From
him the nicest
Canada.
people in the world.
Yes, you are automatically, sorry, eh? They are, you probably know them as tater tots.
Which way does our toilet flush?
You know what? I have no idea because I don't look in the toilet while it's flushing. Spatula. Or flip.
It's a spatula.
It's a spatula, but flip. An egg flip. What I'm going to do now is hit them with a little bit of salt and pepper. They've probably got a fair amount through from the fajita seasoning, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. And put a little bit of olive oil in my non-stick pan, which is probably not too non-stick anymore. And I'm going to put that up on a medium-low heat. And a medium-low heat on a wok burner is pretty much all the way down. And just while that's heating up a little bit, let's talk about what to do with those potato gems. Are you a little bit of salt and just eat them plain kind of person? Are you a barbecue or tomato sauce? If you're a barbecue sauce person, do you just use brown barbecue sauce or do you use a fancy barbecue sauce? I like to cheat a little bit and use Masterfood steak seasoning, which is my go-to seasoning for almost anything. I will go through a jar of this on a brisket if I'm smoking it. Same with beef short ribs. I'll go through about 3/4 of a jar. I toss chips in this. I will occasionally season steaks. If they're not eye fillet and I haven't got any garlic or rosemary or butter, then I will definitely season them with some steak seasoning. So I'm going to toss them in a little bit of that afterwards, but for now we just do that waiting thing that we're really, really good at.
Rowan Paredes says, what the
What the fuck is an egg flip? Well, it's a spatula, but you use it to flip eggs. And this has been through the wars based by the handle. I don't think the handle's very heat proof.
Prometheus says chips plus aioli is greater than all. Fight me if you disagree.
Well, I'll fight you. Mostly because you're wrong. Chicken salt. Anything, chips and chicken salt is like God's gift to man.
Do you only use the egg flip for eggs?
No, you can flip burgers or
Pancakes?
pancakes, or other flippable things.
Prometheus says, come at me, bro.
I'm busy. Come here. 1v1 me in the kitchen. Let's have a cook-off, a meet-off, if you will.
Prometheus says, you and me, PAX Australia, Macca's car park.
Where's the Macca's closest to PAX? South Bank. There's one there.
I am Cyberwaste says, chip buddies with chicken
Oh.
salt tastes like
Oh, oh, chip buddies, for those that don't know, are a bread roll or 2 slices of white bread. Has to be white bread. That's the one thing everyone can agree on. And then buttered or margarine. I prefer butter because margarine is just whipped grease, and no. And then chips and your choice of sauce, whether it's brown barbecue sauce or tomato sauce. And chip buddies are, they're kind of an Australian childhood staple. You know, back in the days where you could go into a milk bar and, you know, ask for $2 worth of chips and it'd be as big as your head. Nowadays, I don't know where there is a milk bar like that, so I guess it's not a thing. But I also live in a city where if I want chips, I can have Macca's deliver them to my door. Don't do that. It's like, it takes an hour. It's pretty cold, and at the end of the night, you're eating Macca's.
Patty wants to know, are we getting a pizza episode soon?
I have thought about doing a pizza episode, and the reason I'm kind of a little reticent to do it, he says, as he waits for something to cook in the oven, is that most of it is just waiting for something to cook in the oven. So, I don't know, it's something that you could do, I guess. I'm still trying to work out how to do it. It might be that I need to kind of start the stream with one in the oven already.
Prepare one earlier.
Yeah, and then kind of make one and then cook that, and then, you know, we've got 2 pizzas to eat. So. All right, now that that oil and the pan is nice and kind of heated, this is where I hope everything stays together. I'm just gonna drop my burger patties in.
Adorable baby bunny says, I want to die eating a burger.
Like now or just in general? What kind of burger? I feel that there's, you know, some merit to that, but it does require a bit more structure, I guess.
Farasol says, for pizza, just break out the wood pizza oven. Cook them for 5 minutes that way.
That is a really good idea. I don't actually have a wood fire pizza oven. What I do have is a Weber kettle, which I could use, but it's outside, so it's really difficult to kind of film in, and a bit difficult to do inside on a stream because there would be lots and lots of smoke.
Rowan Breeders says, oh my god, second cam, what the fuck, high quality stream.
Reasonably. You can still see the second cam. It is just hanging. So for those of you that watched my steak episode, if you haven't, you can find it on YouTube at youtube.com/nextcourseunlocked. I am going to treat these like I would treat steaks, and I'm going to flip them roughly every kind of 15 to 20 seconds. I'm going to leave them for a little bit longer on the first flip, just so that they can kind of sear off a little bit and hopefully stick together. They seem to be doing all right so far. We'll have that second cam going so that you can see them kind of as they go.
I am Cyberwaste says to coin PizzaCast, and Patty Maz says I want in on the hashtag PizzaCast.
PizzaCast. pizza cast. All right, Patty, let's do it. You name a time, come around, we'll make pizza. But we should make the dough as well, which is good because I've got a mixer, so that will make things easier. It does make it trickier to have one ready-made though, unless we make small batches of pizza dough. It's interesting. If you've got an idea for how to work this out so I don't have to, send a self-addressed stamped envelope.
I am Cyberway says you don't treat the burgers like steaks where you only flip them once. That's
I
what
don't.
I was taught.
I don't treat steaks where you only flip them once. That is a old way of thinking. It has that similar kind of thought to it where if you are flipping it, that you're moving the steak around, it's losing contact with the stove. It's actually the best way to do it is to flip them every 10 to 15 seconds. I go 15 to 20 just for a little bit longer, and the reason for that is that way you don't have one side getting all that heat and then the other side cooling while it's not in direct contact with that heat. So it almost cooks it like a rotisserie and you get a much more even cook all the way throughout. It's also how steaks at restaurants get that beautiful pink color all the way around the outside with that beautiful crispy exterior as well, that you only get from the Maillard reaction if you're constantly rotating that steak and letting the proteins and the sugars and everything burn. So yeah, you can flip your steak once if you want, but I guarantee you, if you get a good quality steak and flip it every 15 to 20 seconds, with 3 steaks it's really easy because I just kind of count to 5 and then flip each one as I go, but you'll never look back. So you can kind of see there's that little bit of bubbling that happens on top, and that's that Maillard reaction that I was talking about. So what we should get is a nice big, I'm just going to give these a bit of a press. It's a lot harder with meat when it's not, when you've ground it, to actually tell by feel how cooked it is. So you will probably need a thermometer of some kind. Again, I can't recommend a digital meat thermometer highly enough. They are $15, if that, and they make everything so much easier. You know when your steak's cooked, you know when to take it out and let it rest so it doesn't get overcooked. You know when your roasts are done. Like, there's just no reason for anyone not to invest in a digital meat thermometer.
Rowan wants to know, can you make cheese fondue with bread?
As in, can I on stream, or can I personally, or?
I suppose you could answer both.
I've never made it. I imagine it would just be like a thick cheese sauce. It's not really something I've thought about making. I don't know. It's less of a dinner and more of a kind of entertaining thing, I guess.
Rowan wants to know if you can make it right now.
Rowan, unfortunately, no, I cannot make it right now.
He also read that pressing the burger patties is bad because it squeezes the juices out.
Yes, if you press them down really, really firmly, all I'm doing is just giving them a bit of a press just because they were quite fat, and I wanted to thin them out just a little bit. So. While they're still pliable and while they're, kind of... These are going to take a little while because of the fact that they are such thick burgers. Normally, I would do, one of the things I will recommend actually is, in terms of pre-made burger patties, I'm not sure about other countries, but in Australia and I assume New Zealand, you can get Jamie Oliver Mexican beef patties, burger patties, like pre-made. I've checked all the ingredients. Everything is just actually vegetables and herbs and spices and meat. But they're really, really good. Buy them, chuck them in the freezer, and you've always got some when you want to cook dinner. They're probably even easier than these. They're probably a little bit more expensive in terms of buying everything separately and making them, but you will save that time in what you spend making the actual burger patty itself. Also, if I was cooking those, I'd probably do them in the oven because they've already got a much firmer shape. They're a bit cooler as well. If you make patties from scratch, generally you should refrigerate them just to give that little bit of firmness. These are still pretty not cooked in the middle, I guess is the correct term. But yeah, with the Jamie Oliver patties, I'd probably bang them in an oven for about 20 minutes at 180 degrees. And once you pull them out, you know, maybe flip them once halfway, entirely up to you. Check them with a thermometer. If they're over 71 degrees, fine. If you like them a little bit rarer, then 63 is kind of a good temperature. But it'll save you some time. It's probably a bit less fun. You won't get to play with meat as much and get your hands dirty, but it's entirely up to you. Just don't buy those cheap fucking frozen like $2 hamburger patties because they're just shit.
Blue Night to fan other or something. It says, is it normal that I find this a little weird?
Is it weird because you're watching it on Twitch, Blue Night, or is it weird because you don't normally watch cooking shows? Or both? Because I don't think it's that weird.
Niggy23 says, no word of a lie, I've been waiting for the next stream of this since Maddie and Cheryl were on.
Aw, that's really nice. Thank you. Whoop, dropped a bit. That doesn't count as an injury though, does it?
What did you drop?
Just a little bit of mince. I was going to taste it. In the bin.
What do you think of the 5-second rule?
It depends whether I'm being watched and what I'm cooking. If I'm prepping and, like, I'll be honest, if it's like potatoes or something like that and I'm dicing them up and I've dropped them on the floor, if it's just one and I'm about to cook them, I'm not too fussed about it. I'm going to drop them in, you know, boiling water, which is going to kill anything that's on it and kind of wash it anyway. Or I'm going to bang it in an oven that's at a hotter temperature than any bacteria is going to survive. Anything like meats and stuff like that, it's just safer not to, especially once it's cooked. So it's entirely up to you though.
Jaswolf says it's weird because you're making it weird.
Would it be less weird if I took my shirt off?
I wouldn't do that because Rowan Paredes has said that he gets off to watching people eat fondue.
Okay, well, I'm not going to cook fondue or eat it, Rowan. I don't know if there is any of the Twitch creative streamers making fondue, but I will certainly let people know that some people are into watching people eat fondue. That's a new one, if I'm honest. Oh, that was a chili seed. Not bread.
Oh,
Oh, it's okay. It's just, you know, I don't need to taste anything at all tonight, do I?
yeah.
So I'm just going to test the temperature on it just to see where we're sitting at now. My gut says it's probably somewhere around the 40s. We're into the 50s, so it's actually a little bit better than I expected. Not taking too long to cook at all.
What do we need it to be at?
I'm going to bring it up to about 60, which is technically under what the Food Safety New South Wales would recommend, or indeed really any kind of food safety place. But no one's pregnant here, so let's eat burgers properly. And once I get it to about 58, I'm actually going to flip them for the last time and then put the cheese on. And the cheese just over that heat will start to melt naturally because of it. Then you're going to let them rest, because you always need to let them rest. Does anyone know how long to cook potato gems for?
Did you not look at the packet?
Nope. I did not look at the packet. Oh, like 20, 25 minutes. That's fine. And I don't even have to turn them. The best.
try and eat them whole?
I do. Was that a question from the chat? No, just in general. I do like to attempt at least once to get the whole burger in my mouth at once. I am not a huge fan of you know, those kind of US shows where they gorge or it's just a stupidly big burger. I just think it's a little overkill. In those kind of situations though, or if I'm eating out, you know, I will, depending on the establishment, if I'm at like a nice restaurant and having a burger, which is probably a bit of a tautology in itself, I will cut them in half. But if I'm just out somewhere, you know, like Macca's, then I'll just eat it.
Rowan says cutting is for plebs.
Cutting is for plebs, says Rowan.
Another beer. 2 beer kind of stream.
Yeah, most streams are 2 beer streams.
At this point, though.
Right, we've been going for, you know, 50 minutes almost. All right, so looking at the color on these, you might be forgiven for thinking that they're a little burnt. They're not. But if I just whack that in there, let it come up to temperature. Right on about 65, so it's perfect temperature now. Questions?
Rowan says FML, it's almost 6 a.m. What am I doing?
So at 6 a.m. you're watching someone on the other side of the world cook burgers that you can't eat. So I'm just layering the cheese on there. I've turned the heat off. I'm just going to let that sit in that last little bit of heat before I move them to a plate. The beauty of using that plastic wrap is that I can use the same plate. Normally, you should never, ever, 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 ever put cooked meat on a plate that you used for raw meat or anything that had raw meat on it. Not until you wash it, anyway. So while that's happening, I'm going to get our burger buns ready. So I got some nice sourdough rolls. And I'm going to need my oven again in a bit. And my bread knife, which is in the dishwasher. And this is how easy it is. It's a bread roll. Cut it in half. You don't need a fucking cooking show to tell you that.
Corner hot chips or potato gems?
Oh, like corner shop hot chips or potato gems?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a fucking tough one. My mind wants to say potato gems because I just never really got them as often as I wanted them as a kid. Whereas if I had $2, I could always get corner shop hot chips. But my heart says corner shop hot chips. That was, you know, we used to go for a skate and then finish off with chips. There was a place that did bacon and egg rolls that had the best chips and chicken salt. And whenever we said extra chicken salt, they'd actually listen to us and give us as much chicken salt as we could handle. So I'm probably inclined to go with that. Just gonna give these a bit of a toss around. They're not done yet. I just don't want them to stick, so give them a bit of a shuffle just to stop them from sticking. And I'm just going to chuck those bread rolls in the oven as well, actually. Just on a slightly higher shelf. Because I don't quite want to toast them. What I really more than anything want to do is just warm them through. And I know that my oven's hotter at the back, so I'm going to put the smaller sides, which are the bottoms, up towards the back. Don't need an oven mitt for that because it's not hot yet.
Someone says, I'm so hungry, dude, mail me some.
Rowan, I would, but it would probably kill you by the time it got there. Okay, so because I use this for prep, can't use that again. That's why I've got two. I've also got some beautiful oak leaf lettuce. Now the reason I've got oak leaf and not something like iceberg or cos or romaine is because this is what they had.
Jigsy, what is the most exotic thing you've eaten?
The most exotic thing I've eaten was a snake heart.
Oh, good.
Right, there's the lettuce for my burgers done.
You're just gonna gloss over that.
Well, that answered the question, didn't it?
I'm sure there's a story behind that, right?
Yes.
That's a lot of lettuce.
That is too much lettuce, but it looks good on stream. And too much on the plate and the board and everything. Right, so I'm gonna pull these patties out and let them rest. Because it is nice and hot in here, because I've had the oven going, because I've had the stove going, I don't really need to worry about covering them with foil. There's enough kind of, warmth and heat and everything in the kitchen that I don't need to worry too much about keeping that heat in.
Jaswolf says iceberg lettuce is the desert mirage of lettuces.
Iceberg is like something like 86% water, so when you're buying something by weight, that's a bit shit. That's why I was going to put those on a plate.
And Miggy23, who was the person who asked what the most exotic thing you've ever eaten was, says, oh damn, that beats my bat lung.
Bat lung. I'm actually pretty intrigued about that. That sounds pretty fantastic. Does anyone in the stream want to hear the story about the snake heart? It's not massively exciting, really. I just kind of watched them slice open a snake and cut the heart out into a shot glass, and while it's kind of still bleeding, I guess, and then mixed it with snake blood and shotted it, and it was fucking weird.
Alright.
I guess that's mostly the story.
Lone Fault Wanderer wants to know, does steak be cooked well done, but still be nice and tender?
Yes. One thing I will say, though, is that anyone that learns how to cook steak properly, especially well-done steak, will... Ow. Is that burning myself? I guess that counts. Why not? Injury tally is now 3. Anyone that learns how to cook a steak properly will probably go for a more kind of medium rare to medium kind of steak, or even a medium to well, because what I mainly hear from people is that the reason that they don't like having their steaks well done, the reason they like having their steaks well done is because they don't like the blood that kind of comes running out. For starters, it's not blood, as red and watery as it is and on the inside of meat. I can totally forgive you for thinking that. The reason that runs out is that because the meat hasn't been allowed to rest properly. If you sit your meat for about half as long as you cook it, minimum half an hour, ground beef like this, I'm probably only going to rest it for another kind of 5 minutes or so while I assemble everything. But really, if your meat's rested long enough, it won't run with juice kind of everywhere. Let it sit on a plate to the side, let it rest, let all the muscle fibers kind of relax, and let it draw that juice back in, and you won't have, meaty juices running all over the plate. And if you do see some on anything that I cook, that's mostly the butter that I've left all over the meat. Oh, which reminds me, I'm not going to butter these tonight because these are a bit healthier.
What?
And I don't have butter.
You've used all the butter.
I've used all the butter. But what I do have is extra cheese, so I am going to double cheese them instead. Because that makes up for it, right?
Nate says if you could run the food over
Nate, if you want the food, you're going to have to come over here and wait for me to cook more because I don't have enough for all of us. I don't have anything fancy to come back with that. Nate is our next door neighbour, one of Yug's or Gabby's housemates. So let's put these bad boys together. I'm just going to plate them up.
Patty says 0 days since last accident.
0, yeah. My hands are clean so I can lick them. It's fine, shut up. Do either of you guys want tomato?
I'll have tomato.
Tomato? Padawan? Tomato?
Sure.
Sure. Here's some I prepared earlier, literally. Just to give it a little bit more of a lift and also to keep the lettuce on. I've also got some salsa. If you're making Mexican style burgers, like I am, not Australian style, sorry, then salsa is a really good addition. It gives it a little bit more vegetables, also gives it a little bit more, sauce. I was thinking about putting like a barbecue sauce on them. If you do have like a nice kind of mesquite or a hickory kind of style sauce, it'll go really, really well. You could always just use, tomato sauce or, Heinz barbecue sauce. I find them a little boring these days, so it's entirely up to you whether you want to have them, but not for me.
Farasalt says, so serving the steak too early would be a miss.
Miss Steak, there's some of those quality puns. Someone's going to be up for capital punishment.
And Farasalt also finds the door on his own. So,
No, Farasol, you can stay as long as you want.
the Maxi Geek wants to know if that offer is open to all.
The Maxi Geek.
The one that you've extended to Nate.
I did. Well, it's certainly open to you, Luke, when you're next in town. So next time you're in town, let me know. Come round and let's have dinner.
And Rowan says tomato. I pronounce it tomato.
Tomato. Either. Do you guys know what's happening right now?
You can't get a jar open?
I don't know if you saw that on the stream, but my lettuce just exploded. That was cool.
Get the jar open.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask Wonder Woman Ray Johnston to come in and attempt to open this jar while I toss my salad.
You've made it greasy. That's what's happened.
I'm sure that's the problem.
It really is. Hang on.
Well, I could have done this trick. Please be careful with my expensive Jamie Oliver cutlery.
Who's expensive Jamie Oliver cutlery?
Ours. See, that's, now I could do it. That's... For those of you that didn't hear that, which is probably everyone, Gabby fucking Borland just yelled across the balcony. He is my next door neighbour and best man. I'm thinking of demoting him to average man.
Rowan says I'm oppressing you with my superior intellect. Patty says confirmed Ray lifts.
Ray does indeed lift. She lifts my spirits every time she walks in the door.
Oh.
Ugh. Yeah, that felt shit. All right. And now we've got burgers. And now we've got a mess on the bench.
You're cleaning.
I cooked, so someone else can clean.
I'm not cleaning. I don't want to clean. Did you need us to open anything else for you? Do you need anything else open?
No, it's okay. I don't need
Sure.
anything else opened.
Yeah.
I've just had a bunch of people crash the stream.
We're just checking.
Literally, to check to see if I needed anything opened.
We're just checking.
Um,
You need another beer open? Are you okay?
no, I'm all good.
You okay?
Although perhaps you could open the door and fuck off.
Alright, well, we know when we're not wanted. Jesus.
It's weird living next to your friends.
Maxi Geek says that they'll take you up on the offer then, Jigsy, and we'll make sure that Ray's around in case you need a jar opened.
Yes, that would be good. You know, for the record, I do have very greasy hands because I've been making fucking burgers and drinking beer. So, but you know what? Who doesn't need a woman in their life to just do things for them sometimes? Like washing.
What?
What? Nothing. All right, so these are pretty much done. Segways are shit. The actual art of changing from one subject to another, not the motorized scooters. I actually think they're really cool.
Farasot said confirmed next Ray cosplay is Jar Jar.
Oh, Jar Jar. That's not a... Barrett, like it's... I'm alright with puns and everything, but reminding us all of the worst Star Wars character to ever exist, that's pretty unforgivable. So by this stage, hopefully, if my timing's right, and it is, these potato gems should be beautiful and crispy. Or tater tots. Do you guys prefer if I call them potato gems or tater tots? Like, because I don't care, I'm gonna eat them, so I win already, but what do you prefer them?
Kill spiders though.
No, Ray does not kill spiders. She is a spider pacifist. So she will... I used to have pretty bad arachnophobia. Probably part of the anxiety as well. And it probably kind of was exacerbated somewhat. So I remember, and you know what? Fuck him, because he's already, made fun of me tonight. But your mate Gabby Borland is equally terrified of spiders. So we used to kind of rile each other up a little bit when we were living together, and we would panic the fuck up when there were spiders around our house. And we lived in a pretty rundown place, so there were lots of spiders, mostly big fuck off huntsmans, totally harmless, giant and hairy, and terrifying when they're crawling over your head. So I guess now that, I'm on antidepressants for my anxiety, I'm not that bothered by spiders. I don't mind seeing them. I don't freak out like I used to. It's not that big a deal. But yes, whenever there is one that's in the house and making a bit of a nuisance of itself, the lovely Ray Johnston, Wonder Woman, will... she'll generally pick them up in a jar and dispose of them, release them into their natural habitat. Outside, not in my fucking house. So as you can see, just dusting these with some steak seasoning. And now after a beer and a half to see if I can not spill them everywhere as I give them a bit of a toss around.
Raoul wants to know, doesn't Australia have spiders the size of basketballs or something?
I've never seen spiders the size of basketballs. We do have wolf spiders, which I guess would be the size of a softball. I've never really seen one of those. They're also known as bird-eating spiders for reasons that should be obvious by the fucking name. But yeah, no giant spiders really.
Farasot says you're tossing your gems after kneading your meat.
I am. I'm cupping my gems after I've thoroughly worked my meat, and then I'm just gonna splurt them over onto the plate. Splurt's a weird word.
Patty wants to know, has he missed you making sweet potato chips? If not, these need to happen.
I don't think I've made sweet potato chips. I think I just did roast potatoes with the steaks. I'm not sure. You'll have to check the video. All right, so I'm going to chuck my burger up for display once I clear a bit of a space. And that requires using something that's not going to burn me. Gems is better than tots. So I'm going to move these over to the stove in a second, but just so you can see from the side how good they look, here are my from scratch made, almost, burgers and potato gems.
Oh, nice. All right, back to you.
Again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the love and the support. My name is Jigsy. I will be back probably in 2 weeks, if not before then. Hopefully next week I've got some special guests coming on. You may know them as James Turner YouTube and Deligracy, as well as Zeus. So it'll be fun to see what we cook, because I've got fucking no idea right now, and
Nice.
I need to work that out. So any requests or ideas, hit them up in the chat or hit me on Twitter at nextcourseunlkd. I've been Jigsy. Thank you so much.